All right, guys, welcome to the Digital Barbell Podcast. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all of you guys that join in and listen, watch every week. Speaking of that, if you are only listening to this episode, you might want to hit pause and jump over to YouTube and watch it because we're going to overlay a bunch of videos onto this episode because we're going to be talking about our 10 favorite, actually the 10 accessory exercises that we're both doing right now.
Every week.
Every single week. So not only are we going to talk about them, we're going to show you too. So jump on YouTube if you're not already over there. It's just youtube.com/digital barbell. How original is that? What's going on? Update on the moving. If you guys missed last week, we are in the process of moving out of our house and into our Airstream for full-time work, travel, living out of the Airstream. So that's going to be interesting.
A couple podcasts, but maybe like one more podcast in the studio, and then they will probably all be coming from the Airstream.
Yeah. We haven't quite figured out the right setup for in there yet, so bear with us as we figure it out.
Really just because we have to be sitting, and I feel like I have more energy standing, and there's nowhere to stand and do a podcast in there. You have to sit at a table.
What if we just did them all outside from now on, if the weather permits?
It would be so loud, I think.
Yeah, it would be tough. But yeah, the moving is going well. Our storage unit is probably 60 to 70% full. There's not a whole lot of things left in the house.
But yeah, but there's not, like you said, there's not a whole lot left in the house.
But we haven't touched anything in here in the gym.
This is going to be the last thing. Washing machine and gym are going to be the two last things moved in there.
It's going to be kind of weird because I think we've figured out what we have to do is essentially move into the camper while it's still in the driveway so we can make sure everything we think we're going to bring with us in the truck and in the Airstream are actually going to fit. And if that's not a reality, then we need to be here to put that stuff in storage.
Yeah, we can't like move in the last day as we're pulling out and be like,
where am I going to put this? Yeah, so if you don't already follow us on Instagram, follow us there because we post stuff about updates on that in the story and stuff too.
So I have a big decision I'm trying to make. My CrossFit level 2 is expiring. So I've basically this will be like 15 years having my CrossFit level 1 or level 2. And I got my level 2 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then I renewed it 5 years ago, but it was 2020 and I got to do it from the comfort of my own home in Boise, Idaho. I had signed up for the in-person class and then they canceled them all. It's like a full weekend. Yeah. In-person coaching thing. And the level 2 is so great. I loved it so much. It's a small group. It's all about, coaching clients. And, even though I don't coach in person anymore, I still coach people every day. And losing the certification is a little bit sad to me. I don't want to lose it. So I have 3 months to decide if I'm going to renew it. And once I renew it, it's good for another 5 years. But yeah, so
the online option is gone.
Oh yeah, the online option is gone. That was just for the COVID year. And I think it'd be fun to do one. It's just, I'm just like, should I do this? I mean,
right.
Should I do it?
It's $1,000.
It's $1,000 and it's all about coaching classes in person.
Yeah.
Which I think I will have so much energy and excitement and come back with ideas, even though we coach online.
Good point.
I just think, I'm like, is it worth $1,000 to continue to just to have the plaque,
right?
Not in my office anymore, in my storage unit.
Just behind your name. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I guess we could make an adventure out of it too if you pick a city to do it in that we want to go to also.
Yeah. But anyway,
all right,
I'm just trying to decide.
We'll see. Okay, so today's topic is the 10 accessory exercises that we do every single week. I've got 5.
Yeah, we might have some crossover. We haven't looked at each other's lists. I'm going to do 5, he's going to do 5. And this is keeping in mind that we're not including the compound lifts. We already back squat and deadlift and press and bench, every week. And we already do conditioning every week. This is each of our 5 accessories that we do every week that we feel like are important to us and the reasons why.
Because if you're not one of our clients if you've never done the style of training that we do that combines strength training, bodybuilding, accessory movements, and CrossFit style conditioning, you might not really understand what a day of training looks like. So just to give you a little glimpse into that, if you're not one of our clients, we do a strength exercise like a back squat on a day. And then on that same day, the majority of the workout is actually doing these type of accessory muscle building, muscle strengthening exercises. And then a few days a week, there'll be a conditioning element at the end. So everything we're going to talk about today in these exercises, they make up the bulk of our training. Not these specific ones. These are just our favorites that we do every week.
Favorites that we do. Yeah.
If you've ever been like, what is Digital Barbell? Like, what am I signing up for if I come train with them? You're going to be doing a lot of this kind of controlled bodybuilding type exercise because it gives people the result that they want. And we really, really like it. So that's what we're going to get into.
Yep. All right. Let's just go back and forth. I'll start.
All right.
My first one is lunges. So I do a type of a lunge every week. Why are you shaking your head?
I guess I do not have lunges on my list.
Lunges are great for glute strength and size. I have actually changed pant sizes, but in a good way because of lunges in my life. I've been going through a lot of clothes right now as we're moving, and a lot of clothes that I used to coach in, even when I owned the gym, that was not that long ago, I could not fit in. We sold a whole batch of Noble clothing pants and shorts that I couldn't get my butt in anymore, but for a good reason, because lunges give you a lot of glute strength and size. My second reason for that is I have trouble with squats. I have issues with my hips. Me and squats are not the best friends. So I cannot really squat heavy enough to like do any, I can't really squat heavy enough. To give me the strength and size
that you want,
that I want out of squats. So lunges have a great carryover into my leg strength.
Did you already say like what your favorite lunge variation is?
Step back lunge. I go with the step back lunge like 95% of the time. Unless I'm doing a walking lunge, I will do a step back lunge because you use so much more of your posterior chain to get up out of the lunge. You don't like use your knee. If you do a step forward lunge, your knee is like the thing that's like helping you get up out of that lunge. But if you do a step back lunge, just you'll feel the difference. And it's like the glute is what is helping you get out of that lunge.
Yep. So, and you can do these goblet, barbell, deficit.
Deficit. Oh, deficit. That would have to be like one of my favorites.
Our clients already know that. All right. You're a glutton for punishment. All right. My first one on my list is a heavy curl. And I left it at curl because sometimes during the week I'll do a barbell curl with a straight bar. Sometimes I'll use an easy curl bar, depending on like how my elbows are feeling basically. The benefit of the straight bar is, well, number one, you can load these things heavy. I mean, what's the most? We have clients who are straight bar curling 95 pounds or more. But the good thing about the straight bar is it puts your hand in that supinated position with your palm face up, and that recruits more bicep fibers. And that's not something you're going to notice on like a day-to-day basis when you do curls, but over time you're stimulating more muscle growth and strength by doing barbell curls in that supinated position. The easy curl bar puts your hands a little bit more internally rotated, and it's usually more comfortable if you have wrist pain or you have elbow pain, but still you can load those up really heavy. And when I do these every week, I'm aiming for 3 to 5 hard sets, basically depending on what kind of training cycle we're in. And I'm trying to hit a 90+% effort on every set, with each set ending in the 8 to 12 rep range. I want to be almost tapped out, couldn't do another rep, somewhere between that 8 and 12 reps. And I think these will be a staple in my training forever, really. And I look back at old pictures of myself from 10, 15 years ago, and I would say biceps are one of the muscles that I've been able to grow the most over that time.
Yeah, definitely.
And I definitely credit heavy curls for a lot of that.
And it's changed like the shape of your arm. It's changed the whole look of your arm.
It used to be just like a noodle, went straight down, the same size, it was just like a bone.
So if you train with us, like you will do a heavy variation of a curl and an accessory, like a secondary curl. If you do our like 4 to 5 day programming, you will get definitely a heavy curl and definitely a secondary curl. Like what I call a secondary curl is like, say the barbell curl is your heavy curl, or straight dumbbell curls are your heavy curl. You might do an alternating curl or a hammer curl or a band curl or a cable curl.
Yep.
All right. My second one is push and pull ups.
Push and pull ups. Oh, body weight. Okay.
I cheated here too, but push-ups and pull-ups, I definitely do every week. So I want to stay strong and good at body weight movements, and the best way to do that is to continue to do them. And these are often just snuck into our warm-ups, but in particular, pull-ups has always been a goal of mine to get better at, be able to do more and more, in a row, get them stricter and stricter, because like they have the little wiggle, body wiggle going up to get up to the bar, and so just to do all that kind of, just to get stronger at pull-ups, because I just think it's a great tool. Like a lot of times we, especially in our near future, we might be out in a park and we don't have anything but a place to run and a place to do push-ups and squats and pull-ups. So I want to continue to be strong at those movements.
Yeah, and like really a pull-up or a chin-up, it's an accessory movement because it's not one of the main heavy barbell compound lifts, but it's a compound lift too. You like think about how many muscles are involved in, how many joints are flexing when you do a pull-up or a chin-up. So you're working a lot of muscle mass all at one time.
And just such a functional thing to do, to be able to push yourself off the ground, your whole body weight whenever you need to be able to pull yourself onto something whenever you need to. And I think that that's just like an important life strength
ability,
skill and ability to have.
Yeah, cool. I dig it. All right, my second one is a heavy pullover. And this is really something I didn't start doing a lot of probably till the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I've seen really good progress with it in strength and muscle growth. If you've never done a pullover, basically you're laying on a bench and you extend your arms back behind your head, trying to keep your elbows mostly straight. You let the weight sink back below your head and then you bring it back up to a position where your arms are almost perpendicular to your body over your head. I like to do these with either one heavy dumbbell, so you overlap your hands and hold one head of the dumbbell, or with an easy curl bar that puts your wrists in a nice relaxed position. And the key to these is really letting your shoulders open up at the bottom until you get that really big stretch in your lats. And because you're also resisting your elbows flexing back as you dip the weight behind you, you're using your triceps in an isometric way to keep your elbows straight. So you would be surprised, even though the dumbbell pullover is really a lat exercise, how smoked your triceps get once the weight really starts getting heavy. And I emphasize doing these heavy because this is an exercise that you will progressively get stronger at if you overload it over time. I have guys that are doing 75 plus pounds on pullovers that started with less than 50 pounds. You can really get stronger because the lats are really big muscles that can support a lot of weight. Again, I aim for an RPE of 90% or more, and I'm trying to go really, really close to failure in that 8 to 12 rep range when I do these. And these will get me sore most of the time that I do them in my lats and in my triceps.
Yeah. Similarly, my third one is a row. So again, we're working on a pulling exercise. It could be a dumbbell row. It can be like a seated machine row. It can even be a barbell bent over row.
You are really cheating on these today. You're throwing like 3 exercises into one.
Well, I'm telling you that I do a version of a row every week.
Yeah, you do.
And like it can be any of these, any or multiples of these types of rows.
Yeah.
Even a pullover for sure. We always like that has been dropped, like you said, in the past 2 years, dropped in our programming pretty much weekly.
It's a staple.
Yeah. But this is a great, again, exercise for pulling strength, for back size and strength. If you're trying to get better at pull-ups, this is the thing to do. I have seen dramatic difference in my body size since I have been adding rows into my repertoire. Like
going back to clothes that don't fit.
But going back to clothes that don't fit, like a sports bra, like and just like the width of your measurement around like
your torso.
Your torso has gotten bigger, and I think that's important to have that back strength.
I think having like a strong looking, well-defined back is way underrated, and rows are a crazy good way to do it. If you had to pick one row variation to do for the rest of your life and you had to throw the other ones away, which one would you choose?
I mean, I think that the one I feel like I get the most out of is a dumbbell row.
A single arm dumbbell row?
Even though that's the one when I see it pop up, I'm like, because they're hard. If you're going heavy, they're hard, and it's like one arm and then the second arm. So they take. If you're doing 4 hard sets of dumbbell rows, you're going to be there for a minute because you have to do each side, and and then
they get your heart rate up too by the time you do both sides too.
And I actually found I stole this little number from Marcus Philly, but doing them on the clock. I saw a video where he was doing them on the clock, and I tried it, and I love it. And I've been dropping it into our clients' workouts where you set like a 90-second clock, and you do your right and your left, And then that only takes about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you rest until the 90 seconds hits again. So you can get 4 sets done in like 6 minutes, which is great. And it adds this intensity to your set.
Yeah, those will get you sore too if you do them like that.
Yeah, this cycle, we just started doing them on the clock again. And I really like it.
If you're not doing it on the clock, how many reps are you usually aiming for on a set of rows, depending on which variation?
10 to 15 per arm per side.
And then on like a heavy seated cable row?
On a heavy seated cable row, so same thing, around 10 to 15.
All right, sounds good. Okay, my number 3 one is some sort of lengthened position curls. And I left it at that because I like to mix it up.
Holding up on the curls.
Oh yeah, I mean, you asked for my favorite, so here we are. Okay, and I actually think that, I know I said barbell curls have made a huge difference in my arm growth and strength, but honestly, I've been doing lengthened position curls since we're back in the garage days in Houston. And I feel like they made a really big difference in the overall change of my physique when I first started doing bodybuilding stuff, because I did a lot of stuff with bands. So one way to do this with bands is to attach a pair of bands to a wall, like crossover symmetry bands, or loop your band around a squat rack or whatever. The band should be attached kind of low. You face away from the place that the band is attached and you step away so your arm is back behind your torso. And what that does is puts that big stretch in the lengthened position of the bicep. And then you keep your arm in that back position and only flex your elbow like this. So every single rep, your bicep is really stretching out at the back. And by the time you pull your wrist forward, you're getting a really strong contraction and a long range of motion on that curl. If you've never done these before, these will make you sore too. But so that's a great way to do them with bands.
Sorry.
Your microphone's on you, so you don't have to walk away. So let's say,
I felt the tickle.
Let's say you don't have access to bands. You can lay face up on an incline bench, let your arm hang down back below you, and now your bicep is in that same lengthened position.
Incline dumbbell curls.
Laying on an incline bench, and let your,
Back
do your
on your
curl,
back,
do your curl, keeping your arm in that down position, only flexing at the elbow. These are huge muscle contraction at the top. You can probably do these between the 8 and 15 rep range. You want to pick a weight that gets really, really hard by rep 10 or 12. And don't be surprised if you have to use a lighter weight than you're normally using for barbell curls, because you are in that lengthened position and it is more difficult, especially if you're doing the version with the dumbbells.
So if someone's listening to this, a normal dumbbell curl is like your elbows are about at your sides,
right?
Or a normal curl, barbell, dumbbell, whatever. And when he's saying lengthened positions, he's saying like your elbows are behind your body,
right? Yeah, same thing.
And you're not going to move them. You're not going to move your shoulder forward when you do the curl.
Right. You're going to try not to. Yeah.
In that position behind you.
And this is like something that people are doing research on, like the benefits of doing more of these exercises in the lengthened position, and even doing partial reps in the lengthened position when you get to the point where you can't do a full rep. But anyway, I love these things. You'll routinely see me doing them every single week.
So alternatively, what would the style be called when you have, like, remember we had the GHD and you would put your elbows on it and then you would do the curl there? What would that one be called?
That's called a shortened position.
Because your elbows in front of your body.
So a cable curl where your elbow's out in front of you, a preacher curl where your elbow's out in front of you, a concentration curl when your elbow's out in front of you. Okay. Those are all in the shortened position. And taking advantage of all these different positions is the beauty of hiring a coach that can write a program that has a little bit of all that stuff sprinkled in, because only working your muscles in one position is leaving a lot of gains in strength and in size on the table.
All right, my number 4, and I'm not cheating on this, this is just in general, flies. Flies, like reverse flies mainly, or something like face pulls.
You are so cheating. I'm surprised you didn't say weights. I like to do weights.
But the main reason that I like to do flies is for posture.
Working the muscles of the rear upper back.
Yeah, the upper back and the rear
delts.
Yeah. So, if you I don't want to end up with my shoulders basically rolled forward. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I like to do these. So
reverse flies, bent over, face pulls.
The ways, yeah.
Yeah. Bands are great for doing those kinds of things too.
I don't like bands as much. I feel like it puts like a really weird stretch in the chest. Like you have to have a band light enough to be able to like pull without like engaging the chest.
You're talking about band like squeezing the
yeah,
chest, not like a pull apart.
If I do like dips and I get sore in like the sternum area, I will freak out. I'll be like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? So I really don't like to be sore in the middle of my chest.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't like bench flies. I don't like the flies where you lay down on your back and you do bench flies, because if you do them regularly, you won't be sore, but that first time you do them, you'll feel like you got something wrong with your heart or something.
I was about to say.
Yeah. So I like reverse flies.
But deep down, it's the muscle, not the heart, right? That's the muscles of the chest.
For 3 days, it's terrifying.
Yeah, because if you touch it, you're like, ooh.
You're like,
ooh.
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And I'll take a deep breath in and I'll like test it. Like, okay, I can breathe. Like, am I so sore there? So, yeah.
But just to be clear, the exercise you do every week are not those. It's the face pulls and reverse flies to work the muscles
Basically,
of your back.
a standing lateral raise. A bent over lateral raise.
Lateral raise, yeah. All right, my number 4 is, sticking with the lengthened position theme, is a lengthened position tricep exercise. And I'm given multiple options here because if you're somebody like me who has dealt with elbow pain and elbow tendonitis, you'll find that some exercises trigger it and some don't, even if they're both in the lengthened position. So the lengthened position for a tricep exercise means your arm is up over your head versus elbow at the side for like a cable push down or something like that. So my favorite lengthened position tricep exercises are LTEs, lying tricep extensions. These are called squats for your arms. Or overhead cable tricep extensions. Because if you think about it, if you are laying on your back and you're doing a LTE with the weights back behind your head, it's the exact same position as if you're standing with the cable coming from behind your head and you're extending it out in front of you. They're the same movement pattern, but one might trigger your elbow and one might not.
Right.
So that's why I threw both in there. LTEs are kind of like pullovers. You're laying in the same position. There's not as much or really any lat involvement in the LTE, even though you are letting your shoulder open up a little bit as the weight dips behind your head. But what we really want is a really strong elbow extension and contraction in an LTE.
The difference is you're not letting your shoulders move.
A little bit.
In an LTE, your shoulders are moving. I mean, in a pullover, your shoulders are pulling back.
Yeah, it's almost all in the shoulders. You're trying to keep your elbow straight. In the LTE, yes, your arm is going back behind you like a pullover, but the action we want is in the elbow. But since the tricep is still involved in bringing the arm back behind your head, it still gets a really good stretch in the LTE. And in the LTE, also a little tip if you're going to try these is don't let the weight come up over your body like to a resting position like it would in a bench press. It takes all the tension off the triceps. Finish each rep with the weight still a little bit behind your head, but still with a full tricep lockout.
We have a pretty good video on YouTube about these that really shows that like position that your arm stays in, like basically your elbow pointing toward the wall behind you and then your elbow just moving up and down with the weight.
And since this is also an upper body compound move using your shoulder and your elbow at the same time, you can load these really heavily too. Don't be surprised if, if you can get this thing up over 75 pounds plus and ladies up over 50 pounds eventually.
You prefer a straight or the easy curl bar is probably the
I like both. Like you can do these with a dumbbell in each hand if you feel like it's stable enough for you. As it gets heavier, it might get a little unstable, or you can use an easy curl bar. I don't prefer using them with a straight bar, like a long regular barbell, same as dumbbell pullovers, because when the weight is that far out to the sides, it becomes more of a balancing act than if you can keep the bar in tight. If you work out at a commercial gym, you can use those preloaded barbells with the giant rubber weights on the ends. But yeah, LTEs, baby.
Just from a coaching perspective, like I think, definitely the dumbbells are the safest weight version because you can get in and out of the position by yourself and easily, but it could trigger some people's elbows.
Yeah.
The barbell, I think, can help with any people who have a little, sensitivity in their elbows, but if you're going heavy, it's hard to get out of that position by yourself.
Yeah, it can
be. You can, dump the weight or you can try to get it back over your head. But if it's heavy enough, it might be difficult to safely get up back over your head. I know I've been stuck on a bench before.
Come get me.
In my gym, I'm like, someone take this bar.
Yeah.
So from a coaching perspective, I will most likely prescribe dumbbells to people unless I know that they can handle the barbell
It's for sure where we start
people.
people.
Yeah.
And I'll say one more thing about the lengthened position tricep exercises. When your elbow is in that position, that's when you're working the long head of your tricep. That's the big one down the back of your arm that you see the most. It's the largest of the three. So if we spend a little extra love developing that one, it's going to lead to overall better looking arms. So if you're only doing press downs, only doing bench press, push-ups, overhead press, all that kind of stuff, you're leaving a lot of progress on the table for making your arms look like you work out.
This is exactly my number 5 I said tricep exercises.
Of course you did.
My favorite. And triceps are one of the things that are really like, they hit people differently. Like LTEs, I don't feel as much as I do overhead tricep extensions. That's my number 1 tricep exercise. My number 2 would be the cable push downs, like a heavy cable push down, or a band if that's all we have, but the heavy cable ones, or kickbacks. Those are probably my top 3. And then I would say LTEs are like my number 4, just because I have like
6 elbows.
My elbows hyperextend and I can't control the weight as easily, and I have a hard time feeling them in my triceps.
But like your favorite one, the seated or standing dumbbell overhead tricep extension, that's putting your arm in that lengthened position too, just not as much as the LTE or the cable.
Because you can't get as much range of motion because you're in a static position. But my reason for this is purely because if you see someone like, can you hand me that pen? And you see their tricep pop and just handing your pin, they work out.
Yeah.
And that's purely my reason for doing a tricep exercise. Is I think that when you're walking around in the world and someone sees you have a tricep, they're like, that person works out.
That's true. Same thing with having like a well-defined back. Like you see a tricep popping, you're like, that didn't happen from just sitting at your desk using the mouse.
So my tricep is purely aesthetic, but
sounds like a plan.
That's my number 5.
All right, my number 5 is an upright row. And this is really something that has only popped back into my training in the last 2 months, probably. I've had my share of shoulder pain over the years, and this can be an exercise that triggers some people. But when they're working, these things give me a massive pump in my shoulders and in my bicep all at once. So I'm really cashing in on these upper body compound moves. Like I'm getting a lot of bang for the buck on these things out of one exercise. So if you've never done an upright row, you can do this with a pair of dumbbells, or you can do it with a barbell. Same thing that I just said about the long barbell for the LTEs and stuff. Using a really long barbell for upright rows might feel a little bit funky with the balance, but I like to use an easy curl bar, or you could use one of those preloaded bars. Basically, you're just starting from a standing position with a very narrow grip on the bar, and you're driving your elbows up using your delts, ending with the bar somewhere around your collarbones. A lot of people go with a wide grip on this, and I think that's a mistake because you're not going to have any option as you lift the barbell up with a wide grip than to start to flex your elbows or your wrists like this, which turns it into more of a forearm exercise and keeps your elbows from going up, putting the emphasis on the delts. So I would recommend a narrower grip on this. It lets you keep your wrists straighter, keep all the action in your shoulders, and because your elbow is bending, also, as you lift this, you're using a lot of bicep too. Try not to use a lot of body English on these. It can be tempting as you lower the weight back down to get into a rhythm. I'm just kind of humping and pumping the thing back up. Try to use the muscles that we're supposed to. And as with most of the things that I've brought up in this, in my list here, is I like to shoot for the 8 to 15 rep, 8 to 12 rep range, somewhere in there. And I'm going 90+% effort on these too. And like everything else I've said in here too, you'll be surprised how heavy you can do these because it is a compound move that uses a lot of muscles. They get a lot of hate for some reason, upright rows. Like a lot of people are like, oh, that's a terrible exercise for your shoulder. You're going to cause shoulder impingement. And most people who say that don't even know what that means, or probably have never even done an upright row. So give them a shot. If they bother you, send us a form check video.
Yeah, because it could just likely be like your hand position, or where your elbows are in the pull.
And this is probably one that you're not going to be able to do if you're currently experiencing like a tennis elbow flare up or something like that, because just because of the position of the elbow, you are going to feel that. Man, you could just take everything we said today, especially your list of 300 exercises, and create an entire training program. Although everything in mine was upper body, I had zero lower body.
2 triceps, and 2 curls. Basically, you have 3 exercises: a pullover, 2 curls, and 2 LTEs.
But I will say, like, I love doing these exercises, but if we had just said our favorite exercises that we do every week that weren't accessory exercises, I still love doing heavy squats and heavy deadlifts and heavy bench
And that's
press.
why we like purposely did it like this, because it would have just been like the same, the same list.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have squats on there, but the same list of 4 exercises.
Yeah. All right, so that's our list. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to find out how you can work with us and what our training options are for you, you might be surprised that it's not as expensive as you would think. I'll put a link to how you can find out about that, and I'll shoot you an email back and share with you what our options are. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day.